Okay, Chair, we are ready to start the meeting.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. We'll have a quick roll call. I call your name. If you could just say here, Heather,
Here.
Brian, you're still muted.
Here.
Sophie,
Here.
Pam,
Here.
and we don't have Martha yet. Okay. We'll move on to approval of the agenda. Can I have someone make a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, could I make an
Yes.
addition? Could I suggest an addition, please?
Okay.
Could we add roundtable at the end?
Okay. Do I need to have an amended agenda, or is it okay just to approve it with the amendment?
It's okay.
Okay. Can I get a seconder to approve the amended agenda? Brian? All in favor? Okay, passed. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Anybody have anything to declare? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull anything out to discuss? Heather?
Could we pull 4.2 and 4.3, please?
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, see none. I think we discussed these first and then we approve the rest of the consent agenda. Is that correct? Okay, so we'll go to 4.2 first. Can you speak to this, Nellie or Aaron? Or how do we want to do this? Should I just read it?
If it's up to you, Chair. If you'd like, we
If
can.
you could, Aaron, I think you're probably more familiar with
So thank you, Chair. So good evening, committee. This report is essentially the activity of the last quarter. I guess November to January. So last 2 months of the year. The of what was issued and items looked at by staff. The one thing that is new in there is there's a proposed art project for Clengregor Square that has come forward. It hasn't come to council yet, but since committee's meeting earlier, we wanted to bring it forward, right? So there wasn't a wait. It doesn't really need approval from the committee. It's just as more of just an FYI for the for you. So there's no real heritage approval needed for it in the park, but there is a proposal that's coming forward. More details will come later. This is a proposed mock-up of what it's going to look like. Down on, is that page 3 there, Nellie? If you want to scroll down to see that. That's mainly the major 2 items. I'll open up if there's any questions from committee.
does anybody have any questions? Oh, we saw, sorry, Heather?
Yeah. Nellie, could you scroll down to the part about the YouTube and about the AI? Yeah. Yeah, so the recordings. So that's fabulous. It's really been a pain for people to have to, ask to see one of our meetings. It's really much easier. People can just go on and see when they want it. My interest is in the AI aspect of this, which is again fabulous. Everything is moving full steam ahead with that in the society in every capacity. But there is always a component of AI which needs to be checked. And I'm wondering what the process is for checking the transcript before it's published and making sure that the AI bot has actually captured the actual words that were said and didn't insert something funny that we really wouldn't want to be on the net.
So I can speak to that, Chair, if you want.
Sure.
The intent of the AI recordings is for accessibility. It's not meant to be official minutes for it. And I believe that was explained more in the report to council that went in, I don't remember when it went. Oh, January 12th, it says right there on the report. Sorry.
Yeah.
So in January that went, it is more just to be more an accessibility component as opposed to being the minutes. So it's not the full minutes of it. If that comes down to it and people have questions about it, then we would dive into what was actually said at the meeting.
So it's not accessible if it's not correct. So I would request for our meetings that they be checked before it be released. Because I'm not wondering about, the content that may come up, like a dispute, but I'm more worried about the accuracy of what is said because that's what makes it accessible.
Okay. Through you, Chair, I will take that comment back and I will confirm with the clerk's department on how that's going to happen and we will report back.
Thanks.
Okay, I think, Brian, you did have your hand up. Was it for the same?
It wasn't really, but I put the hand down simply because when I was looking at the report, it's the Heritage Committee activities, but it's really heritage activities related to the Heritage Committee. So that was just a comment more about when I've read past reports, it's actually covering what the committee has done. This is really encompassing more. In other words, it's bringing things to our attention as well. For example, what was just mentioned, which is a general comment, which is important for us to know. So that was just really more of a question that has the form, maybe the title's a bit inaccurate, but I wanted to make sure the format, if everyone's agreeable to it, it's not just committee activity, I'll call it activity related to heritage. So I don't know if Aaron or Nellie, you want to speak to that.
I can speak to that, Chair. I think Member Hegel has a great point. I think historically we've always just called it the Heritage Advisory Committee activity report, right? So we've just carried on with the title. It does make sense. I see no issues with us changing that if that's what the committee wants to see.
I think it does make sense, just given that lately it's been very little activity that the committee has done and much more related to what more heritage activities. Heather, you want to add something?
Yeah, I would say since the new way that we've been working, where staff has had much more opportunity to do more without the committee's approval, that it's important that it is a different report now. So I agree for the name change.
I just had one final question about this report. For that art installation, what's the rough timing, and will we see a final version before it's installed?
At this point, Chair, there is no timing aspect. It still has to go through our public art installation policy, and it'll have to be presented to council.
Okay.
I think really the biggest thing for the committee to know is that if you have some comments you would like to see, then you can send them in. Would be the biggest thing at this point. But there is no timeline. I think their timeline, the other committee would like to see would be this summer, although that may be an aggressive timeline, I would say.
It certainly seems to fit the theme of some of the other art installations along the main street, like with sort of the nautical theme, and so yeah.
Correct.
Okay, can we move on to item 4.3? Heather.
So I just thought I just was wondering why we were over budget, not very much, mind you. on committee expenses.
I don't, through you, Chair, I don't have a list of all the expenses. It probably is just a matter of expenses relating to travel to conference from 2025. It's
I
pretty
think that's
minor.
above. I think that's in the training, development, and conventions.
Oh, that's right. I'll look into see what the overage was for that, and I can report
Like I
back.
say, it's not much, but we don't have many expenses right
Yeah.
now.
Mhm. Okay, did
I'll bring
anybody else have any questions about this item? Nope. Okay, then I think I need a motion to accept the consent agenda. Can I get someone to move that?
I can move that. Sophie.
Okay, Sophie, and somebody to second it? Anybody? Brian, thank you. All in
Always there to
favor?
second. I'm always there to second.
Okay. Okay, passed. We'll move on to 5.1, delegations and reports. Heritage Nomination Advisory Subcommittee meeting.
Kelly, did we want to do 4.1 or did we do it?
You only asked for 4.2
Oh,
and 4.3.
That's right. It's in the consent. Thank you.
Yeah. And could you speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So basically, this is just updating timeline and dates to meet with potential uh, candidates for the committee. And basically, the motion will keep the subcommittee members the same, just changing the meeting date to be April 14th this year.
Okay. Heather.
And appoint on September 9th, 2026, fourth line.
Yes, that would be a date that changes as well. That's right.
No, that was the day that they were originally appointed, isn't it? September 9th. Brian?
I think that's correct. My only concern about the timeline, and this goes to the fact we changed last year to meeting, on a more spread out basis. We've got our applications are to be submitted, new applications, hopefully a whole bunch by February 22nd. But we're not actually going to rank. I'm looking at the terms of reference when I say subcommittee is supposed to rank or rate the applicants. We're hopefully going to have number of vacancies plus one to look at. But the problem I've got with this is everything, if it goes the way the terms of reference and our past practice has been, we will be notifying people, but they won't actually be interviewed or have any sense of them knowing if they're going to be on the committee until almost the end of April. So there's a bit of a gap between the deadline and the applicant. We may lose people who, if, in that couple of months, know they've applied elsewhere to a local community group or so. So it's just a question. I've always been concerned about our process. Kelly, you know this from, I think I shared some of my thoughts here that according to terms of reference, the subcommittee can only meet once and they have to not only rate at the time, they have to interview the candidates all at once just before the regular meeting of the full committee with the recommendations. So just a concern, I'm raising it for our committee. I'm concerned about the process, but I'm also concerned a bit about the gap between the deadline and then actually interviews and a recommendation coming to this committee. So I don't know if anyone wants to speak to that. It's just a concern I have about you strike, and you as when the iron's hot, when people are enthused, and hopefully we have competitors out there for people, good people. So just a comment there. I don't think we can change the terms of reference. The council has passed it, but I'm a little bit concerned about the time frame for this round of applicants and recommendation.
Okay.
Just a comment. I don't know
Brian.
if that makes sense to anybody else.
So Nellie, when
concern.
people apply, are they told of the timeline so that they're sort of prepared for the wait?
So far, they've been told about the application deadline. I don't believe we've announced that the interviews would be held on April 14th. But this was all to align with the committee's desire to not incur extra costs by a meeting prior to the regular committee meeting. And yeah, with the skipping every other month for the regular meetings does create this situation. I hope I answered your question.
Well, I'm just wondering if it would be possible when people apply, like I don't think it needs to be advertised to everybody, but I'm just thinking when applicants actually apply, if they could be advised at that time of when they would be interviewed and, just so that there isn't a surprise when they don't hear from anybody for, a month and a half.
In fact, I think we probably have to book them when
Oh,
thanks
well,
for your
that's right. Like,
application.
yeah. I'm getting
Save the
back
date.
from holidays like 2 days before the next meeting. So I will be here for the meeting, but that is a time when people do go on vacation. And so, yeah, we want to make sure that they're going to be available to be interviewed.
Yeah, in the past, I've stayed in touch with the applicants and told them about next steps.
Okay. Like, I think as long as people know so that they're not, sitting out there wondering why they haven't heard anything, then I don't think that there'd be a huge problem with that. So what does
Chair,
anybody else think?
well, Chair, would it be the subcommittee's wish to meet sooner than that after receiving the applications?
I think that might be what Brian is getting at here.
Sort of looking at two things, just to be clear. My thought was to meet sooner, but also not to have to rush to judgment who is, the top applicant or who isn't. Also to what we're going to recommend. Because remember, right now it's all done on virtually a same day, same hour basis.
Yeah.
We're kind of interviewing them in sequence, and then the regular meeting shows up. We have about 10 or 15 minutes to get our thoughts together as a subcommittee. So but let me put it this way, this is not ideal. So Aaron, to answer your question, because I raised it, was I kind of think we're a bit stuck because of the terms of reference. We're only allowed to meet as a subcommittee once. So if we did meet sooner, we'd have to probably ask for a regular meeting, special meeting to be held of the committee, just probably to deal with this issue in particular. But I think if, my comment is similar to what our chair said. That is, we just need to hopefully manage the expectation of applicants so they're aware, they reserve the time. And I think maybe after we do this round of interviews, and hopefully there's a whole number of them, and that'll be great for competition and quality of who we have. But also, maybe after this, we should at our next meeting, while it's still fresh, make a recommendation to council that the terms of reference may need to and should be, I think, amended as they are currently drafted. So it's an easier, more, I'll call realistic process for interviewing. So that's just my thoughts. So Aaron, I kind of answered your question and then answered what I was thinking.
Okay.
No, I fully understand. Thanks.
It certainly worked fine the first time around, Brian. And I think the whole intent with doing it this way was so that we didn't have to meet again. We could do it just in advance of the meeting. And like I said, I think it was Heather, you were on the committee the first time, and I think it worked fine with the previous round of recommendations.
The reason we put it in, and I'm trying to go back, is there were no such thing as an interview previous to that, Brian. The people filled out their applications, everybody ranked them, And then we were told who was on the committee. There was no interview process. So this was the next part, this next step, which we wanted to try, was so that would give us at least a chance to speak to somebody in person before we had. And if there's only one person, it's not going to matter. But it was so that we would have a chance to speak to people in person rather than just seeing their name with not even their name. Everything was blacked out on the paper, and we ranked them. So that was the kind of the thing that was come up with at the time. And it worked. Oh, for your question, Kat, yeah, it worked fine. It worked great. We didn't need a lot of time, I think, to talk to the people at that time.
But we also had a lot of applicants.
Mhm.
So I guess we'll have to judge it based on how many applicants we actually get for this next position. So, okay, anybody else on this topic, or can we move on to the next item? Okay, Nellie, can you pull up the agenda?
We haven't voted on this
Oh,
motion.
okay. What do we need? A recommendation? Okay,
Yep, there's a recommendation at the top of the page.
okay, can I have someone to move to bring forward this recommendation? Heather? Can I have a seconder? I can't see
It's
Pam.
Pam, I'll second it.
Okay, thank you, Pam. All in favor? Okay, passed.
Did we put this on Facebook? Does the municipality post
Yeah.
things like that on
I
Facebook?
think I saw it.
A while
Yes.
back. I wonder if we should do it again.
Through your chair, we can make sure this goes through a repost through socials and on the website if needed.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, what number is this? Sorry, I don't have my agenda.
This is 6.1.
Ah, there we go. Moving to 6.1, Heritage Advisory Committee Chair and Vice Chair appointments.
So, Chair,
Do I
just
need
so
to
you're
speak to this,
aware,
or do you want to, Aaron?
I think it's self-explanatory, this one. It really is up to the committee if you wish to change roles with the committee, if you want to appoint a new chair, vice chair. It's always something it's put forward annually, or we try and put this forward annually. So it comes down to the committee, what you want to see. If you're happy with things, then you can essentially nominate the same two as you wish.
Okay, Heather.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Aaron. I nominate our current chair and vice chair for 2026.
Anyone else have any recommendations or nominations? I am willing to stand as chair. Brian, are you willing to stand as vice chair?
Yes, more than willing to continue to stand as vice chair. It's been a great learning experience, and to me, we've got a lot of things coming up this year to deal with. So yes, I'd be happy to.
Okay. So do we need a motion to, okay, can I have
Yes.
someone make a motion to accept the nominations?
I'll move.
Okay, Sophie?
Sophie.
So
Seconder?
just so you guys
Sorry.
are aware, we'll input the names before chair and vice chair there accordingly, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, okay. A seconder. I don't think it really should be Brian or myself, so.
So Heather can
Thanks,
second.
Heather. All in favor? Okay. Passed. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, which is 6.2. Now, this was, I think, Bill's item again, and he's not here. So do we want to just move this to the next meeting until he's here to speak to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chair, if any committee members looking for more information about this or anything out of this email, it doesn't have to come tonight. But let Nellie or myself know so we can look into things if you're looking for more information towards this.
Okay. I know anecdotally I've heard that this is the case, but I think Bill has some more information that he wanted to share with us. That I think he's been doing a bit of research on this.
Could I
Okay.
have a motion to move
To
this
move
item
this?
to the next agenda, please,
Okay.
in April?
Can I have someone make a motion to move this to the next meeting in April?
Sophie, I can move.
Okay, moved by Sophie. Anyone want to second it? Brian, all in favor? Okay, passed. And we'll move on to 6.3, the 2026 community engagement event.
Yeah, so thanks, Chair. This is a report that we want to bring forward to the committee, mainly because we're working towards bringing a community event in, but we wanted to make sure what exactly you were looking for staff to do and look up topic wise, presenter wise, anything there. One of my main thoughts is that I want to make sure that we're bringing in a topic that interests members of the committee as well as the committee itself. Not so it's a wholesome educational approach, but that way it's a topic that you as the committee is engaged in as well. So to me, it again, nothing has to come out tonight, but if you're looking to, if there's a certain topic you would like to see Nellie or staff look into to bring you forward for a community engagement topic, let us know. Because we will find topics, but we want to make sure it's a topic that the community wants to hear about or yourselves.
Okay, Brian?
Yeah, Aaron, I appreciate that. I think you're right. This is something we want to make sure is relevant to us, but also meaningful to the community as a community engagement. But just some quick background. So my understanding was before this current composition of the committee existed, there wasn't an efforts made and moved forward to bring a community engagement forum, but it got derailed by something called COVID in particular. And so we're bringing this back around. But I wanted to remind the committee where this came from in terms of the timeliness. So in 2025, if you remember, we wrote in May 2025 a letter from the committee expressing our concerns that not just that they had gone against a recommendation for a heritage property being delisted by bylaw by repealing it, but the reasons, in particular, the reasons seem to be completely away from what heritage a decision like that should be made. They were focused more on the cost of insurance and the concern of the homeowner to sell the property because of that and deter. Now, quick note there, fast forward, it got appealed when the council approved the repeal, and the seller actually sold before the appeal came down. So there really was, in effect, no need, because if that was his primary reason, it didn't matter to a particular buyer, and it got done. So the heritage designation on that property still exists. It got sold. I understand it closed. And I think the reason we're here today talking about a community engagement as well, in our letter, I feel like I'm on a committee when I hold it up. We had said to council that we were wishing to delegate because of our concerns, but primarily we wanted to touch on the mandate and value of our committee, which is, by the way, a big issue. We're an optional committee. We won't, but there's a surviving issue going across Ontario about the role and value and mandate of Heritage Advisory. So that was something we wanted to touch on. The lessons learned from that process in terms of that particular repeal and how a decision was made. Also, we wanted to improve public awareness of and understanding what is heritage. And finally, we talked about council in this committee trying to collaborate better so that maybe a dialogue, informal meetings, whatever it may be. But we also said in that letter at the towards the end that we were going to present also a case to council for a public engagement forum. So that kind of brings us to where we are today. And I think staff has nicely identified what could be a community engagement forum. I just wanted to sort of help our focus. Those were things that got our attention. And at the time last year when this was discussed, we moved everything into now because just timing and waiting for the appeal decision. The only other comment I was going to make for our committee's discussion chair is that this is an election year. So in other words, when is an appropriate time if we're not only engaging our community, but engaging our council? Because that seemed to be part of the thrust of our letter back in May of last year, was to better engage them, better collaborate and work with council. So do we wait on the engagement forum a little longer until the election's over? Do we do it before? I always think election years are good times to bring not burning issues, but important issues to a community. And I would suggest to Blue Water, and also I'll say especially Bayfield, heritage seems to be, there's some concerns raised, and not just about the insurance, but about the value and role of this committee, but also how do we progress? How do we make heritage meaningful and relevant going forward as a community stalwart? So I just wanted to throw that out. Back to you, Chair, and hopefully we've got others who will comment about the forum, but also the delegation.
Heather?
Nellie, could you scroll down to our old poster, our one that got COVIDed?
COVIDed?
Is it a
Is
verb?
that a verb now?
It is now.
It's good. It's a good one.
That wasn't attached to the report.
Okay.
Yeah, I can bring it up, but it'll take me a little minute to do.
It's okay.
find
It doesn't matter. The other part of the reason way back then, before the de-designation issue, the reason why we did it at that time was because we find that in Bayfield, a lot of the people who are coming in and renting businesses in those heritage buildings are not owners. They arrive in May or April unknowing any of the regulations and rules regarding the Heritage Committee and Conservation District and the things that they need to do, signs, paint, things like that. So that was also part of the education that we were trying to provide for the communities, was to try and get ahead of some of the questions that the business owners who are going to be in the district for the summer. Now that if we were trying to do it near, and I think it's a great idea to do it near election time. Of course, we would wait later at the end of the summer rather than at the beginning of the summer to hold it. So, I mean, we could then be shooting for the next season for those people if they were coming back, or for the owners to teach them how to educate their people who are going to be renting their places. So yeah, as a suggestion for a speaker or who can bring this home to roost with some authority, I would suggest someone from the National Trust, if we're able to get someone that doesn't cost, that's within our budget. And so that would be a great, I think that'd be a great source of education, especially on with the fact that they're saving so many buildings and have so much experience in all of these de-designations and at-risk heritage sites.
Okay, thanks, Heather. I agree. I think having moving the session till after the new council is in place would be a good idea, because when there is a new council, they usually do have a series of sort of educational sessions just to bring them up to speed. And so I think this would be a really good opportunity, depending on, what the change is in council, to educate them on heritage at the same time as we're educating, everybody else in the community about that. So that would be my preference, would be to wait till after the election. From a topic standpoint, I would like to hear somebody from the province speaking about the changes to the Heritage Act. And one opportunity might be Jim Sherritt, who is a local resident and works for the ministry, to maybe reach out to him and see if he'd be willing to present on some of the changes to the Heritage Act. The other thing it'd be nice to have is a heritage planner speak on maybe the attributes of heritage properties and speak to that. And I know I have some contacts in the heritage community that I could reach out to if you couldn't find anybody, Nellie, just through my work. Because I know I had a heritage planner who was going to come and speak last time when we got railroaded. So, okay, Heather, back to you.
Interesting that you said that you thought that I meant after the election, because I actually meant just before the election during the campaign time.
Oh, really?
And I did. I meant in the fall before the campaign, before the election, during the campaign, where we, these, if there are competitions for positions,
I see.
Right.
Okay. Brian.
But yeah, timing is everything. And usually, I would tend to agree. I would lean towards what Heather's saying, that we do it during the election campaign. In other words, that'll bring more people. You'll have candidates who will bring their people, hopefully, and there'll be, some concerns raised, probably of decisions made or not made by council. And I think that's healthy, right? And that also brings it to the forefront. So Heather, if I heard you right, the last time it was spurred more by, I'll call it commercial and heritage. This time it's kind of, we brought it forward because of residential and heritage. And so, I think the district plan wasn't at the time of COVIDing, so I'm using your verb. I think it was in process. Am I wrong, Nellie and Aaron? Sort of looking at that. So in other words, if we're going to bring people in, I think that's good. We should probably talk a little bit about the district, sort of reinforce what that is in Bayfield and what it isn't. Because a lot of what the Heritage Committee, from my understanding, has been, we have been, I'm not going to say we've been gutted. We have removed and moved to council and staff many of the things that the Heritage Advisory often shouldered, and we're down to sort of now we have the burden of January 2027, right? That we have to put them on a designated list or get them off. So this is there's a lot going on this year, and the election, I think, is the time when you might get people's attention. But particularly, I think, Kelly, to go to your point, if we could find particularly somebody local with local knowledge, but also provincial insight or experience, that would be ideal. And last thing I was going to say, Heather, you said we have a budget. That's fantastic. What's the budget? Because I think the only comment I have there is, if we're going to move this forward to just before or during the election period, I think we have to ask, don't we?
I think it says, I think it's $500. I think thought I read it.
Nellie, is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
So we have $500. So we should be asking for more as well. The $500 was the last one. You've not even accounting for inflation and sandwiches.
Well, that's what we passed at our budget when we put our budget in, Brian. Like, that's already passed.
New budget coming up. So by the way, I think we're also in a world where we can broadcast a little better, even 5 years later or whatever it's been. So no, I'm not too worried about that. So Chair, I would suggest, last comment suggestion is, perhaps in our April meeting, because we've had a lot on this agenda. If we have a lighter agenda, maybe we can focus on putting the details together for the forum within our current budget, and also talk about the delegation and timing. But I would think, we'd want to have our counselor here, and we are missing one of our other members, so hopefully we can have full attendance. So that would be my suggestion, kind of through you.
Okay, Pam, you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. I was going to suggest that the Architectural Conservancy of Ontario has a speakers program. Also the Huron County Historical Society. If we wanted to get a local focus that wouldn't cost us anything, if we're dealing with $500 budget. I also wanted to say that if we're promoting heritage, I think we have been concentrating on residential buildings and commercial buildings, but heritage isn't just about that. So I almost wonder if it'd be worthwhile forming like a subcommittee of the Heritage Committee to look at this in depth, to sort of, if we're going to wait till just before the elections, we have some time, to do it well, to decide what our scope should be. And I like Brian's idea of trying to reach more people. That was all I wanted to say.
Okay.
So if I can butt in there,
Karen, yep.
Chair. There's a lot of things said there, which is great. I feel like I poked the bear, which is perfect, because got a lot of information out there, and we will summarize up with an email back to the committee on what we kind of heard here tonight. My chicken scratch on the paper, I'll put into better words. The one thing I want to talk about was budget, because the budget that Heritage Committee requested was approved this year. So the education and training is $3,400. The professional engineering fees that the committee has this year is $5,000, and then just the
Professional
committee's
engineering?
expenses is $2,415. So I think the committee has a little bit more funds than previous year. So there may be some extra room, especially if we get later in the year, to use some of those other funds to reallocate if needed. But I just want to make sure you guys were aware of that.
Pam, you still have your hand up?
Just slow reflexes, putting it back
Okay.
down.
I think when we had planned it previously, and Heather, you might have to correct me, but I think we had planned to have like a very light lunch and charge people a nominal amount to attend, just to cover kind of the cost of the food. And so the 500, I
Yeah.
think, was covering only more just sort of some of the out-of-pocket expenses, just for
Okay.
coffee and things like that.
Yeah, I have it in front of me, the one that got COVID-ed. From April 24th, 2020 was the timeline. We were going to have it from 9:30 to 4 o'clock. It was going to be at the Old Town Hall. Speakers were David Yates actually David Yates and Paul King, Community Heritage Ontario. And who else here? And then a planner, Michael Gregua.
Regular, yeah. So he's the
Yep.
guy that I know.
You were gonna get
Yeah.
from London. And then of course David Pullen from the Conservation Officer County of Huron, because he was very well received when we had when we hosted the convention. People were to register and pay $20, including morning coffee and lunch. And it was to be collected at the door. Yeah, what else? Also, we were having Joey Groot from the Hensel Co-op speak again, as he also spoke at the convention and was very well received. So feel free to explore the shore. Yeah. Yeah. So that's we advertised that for that date. And yes, $20 was to help.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of talent right here in Bayfield, like Dave Gillians and David Yates, and just I think we should take advantage of who we have here in town that and Jim Sherritt, because he does work for the ministry. So
Paul
Brian.
King's close. Paul King is really
Yes.
close
Yeah.
in Wooddraw.
Brian?
So just two last points for me. So Aaron, if I heard you right when you were going through the numbers, we've been prudent with our expenses, but so we may have a little bit of flex above 500. But the question I was going to ask though is there anything prevents or prohibits our committee from getting sponsorship? I don't think there would be. I'm not aware, but maybe you would have some knowledge of that.
No, especially if it's sponsorship for an event, I don't see any concerns for that because basically it's a local business offering support to hear the topics.
Right. Because that may be a new opportunity. I mean, it's tough in these economic times, but some people want to be associated with heritage, and this is an opportunity, a rare opportunity. So that was one thing. So, Chair, I'm just sort of listening to what Pam had said about a working group. If we remember, we put the letter together that sort of reignited this whole concept. Of a forum and delegating. That was a small working group that came back to the committee with sort of, here's our draft for final review and approval. So I think, Pam, you were suggesting, sounds like maybe 3 or 4 people if they're of interest. Like our chair who knows a lot of people, or Heather who had the experience and knows a lot of people, can get together between now perhaps and April and sort of work with city, but also trying to figure out who would be appropriate, what would be the hot topics, and then come back to the committee as a whole for the heritage group here to discuss it in fuller in April. So that's what I heard from Pam, which I think sounds like would be good, gives us time, but also we don't have to keep rolling up our sleeves when we get to this committee meeting. Someone else has already thankfully done it a little bit in advance to move things forward. So just a thought there. I don't know, Chair, if you want to entertain that or if anybody else wants to support that.
I'm fine with it. I'm away for a lot of March and April, so like just prior to the meeting. So I would have a difficult time meeting unless it's like in the next couple weeks. So I don't know that it all needs to be planned before the
No.
next meeting in April. Like certainly if we could meet after the next meeting in April, then I'm fine with that. The other thing just to be aware of, there's a lot going on in Bayfield this year with the 150th stuff. So my only worry is the people might get a bit tired of events, because I know there's a lot of the clubs are planning different things and events. So I just want to make sure that when we do pick a final date that it doesn't overwhelm people, and that they're just, there's been so many things going on that they don't want to come to another event. So I guess want to hold out the opportunity that if we find that there's too much going on, we could always push it to the next year if needed. Pam.
I wanted to say a lot of events going on, rather than looking at that as a hindrance, that's a benefit. You look at clustering and doing things in conjunction with some of these events with interest that's already stirred up. So I wouldn't see that as a hindrance at all. I mean, these other events are an opportunity for you to promote your event or make people aware of your event. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay. Okay, I think everybody was in agreement that we have some kind of a working group, maybe at the next meeting in April, when we have more of the committee present. We can decide who would be on that committee and when we would meet, and maybe come up with a more firm timeline for when we would have the meeting. And by then, Aaron, you'll have done a bit of research into who we could have attending and, you know, where we might hold it. And then, yeah, we can kind of firm things up. So do we need a recommendation? So are we okay with, yes, I think we're good with just a motion to move forward with the recommendation. Do we need to amend it to have like the idea of the working group or a committee?
Through you, Chair, I don't think so, because I think basically what I'm hearing is that staff will bring back another report at the April meeting, summarizing topics, summarizing ideas, and maybe more of a timeline. And then at that point, if the committee needs to, they can sit down and create a subgroup, or a couple can get together that's less than quorum to discuss things, right?
Yep, okay. Okay, can I get someone to make a motion to accept the recommendation then?
I'll move. Klopp.
Okay, Heather, seconder, please. Brian?
Second.
Oh, Brian jumped in before you could, Sophie.
Okay.
I
all-
I will relent. Sophie can
No.
take my second. I've done too many.
All in favor? Okay. Passed. On to the final item, which I think is adjournment.
Round table.
Oh, you want, no, we have another item. What was it? Round table? Okay. So we have one final item, 6.4, which is to Heather.
I have a round table item. And somebody mentioned, I think Pam mentioned the Huron Historical Society, and maybe some of you already know about this if you're members of Huron Historical Society. But one of the things that the Historical Society has been doing has been putting on a bus excursion every year. And last year we went to Kettle Point and did that kind of heritage adventure. This year, the bus trip is going to be to Elora in Wellington County, and it's going to be on a Wednesday this time. Last time it was on a Saturday. It is on Wednesday, May 13th. And leaves Goderich on at the museum at 7:45 in the morning and be back by 5:30. It includes lunch. It's $100. So I will forward this to Nellie, and maybe if that works, Nellie, you could let the committee of, you know, this has the links and everything to let the Huron County Heritage Society know if you want to attend. They open it up to everybody. You don't have to be a member to attend.
Okay, thanks, Heather, for bringing that forward. Okay, so item 7, adjournment. Can I have someone make a motion to adjourn? Brian? Anybody second that motion?
Wow, we're going to be here
Yeah.
a long time.
Pam? Thank you very much. All in favor? Yes, it's passed. Thanks very much, everybody.
Have a good night, guys.
Care out there.
Okay, see you in April.